Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Take a Look. My name's Dave McSporran. Joining me, as always, is Felipe Escobar, and today I have the great pleasure of introducing to you all the general manager of the new Toronto Titans team from the International Swimming League, Mr. Robert Kent. Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, happy to be here.
So most of our fan base is swimmers, so everyone really should know about the ISL, but just for those that don't, the ISL started last year with 8 teams, 4 American teams and 4 European teams. Was a big hit, big success, and we had a lot of Canadian talent in there. So when the league announced this year that they were going to be expanding, both in terms of extra teams, and they were hoping originally to expand the season, a lot of people were very excited that Toronto was one of those first teams to be added. So I was hoping to begin, Rob, if you could speak to us about the initial idea for the league expansion, and now due to the global pandemic that we're currently facing, what they've done to sort of adapt that.
Yeah, sure. So I think as most of your viewers may or may not know, Konstantin Grigoryan is the founder and funder of the ISL, and his grand vision is to expand it. Started with 8 teams, expanded to 10, and I think as we've shown this year, there's people are very adept at changing and everything. So who knows what happens? But I think there is a possibility that there might even be another couple teams in the future. But we'll see what happens with that. But we were very pleasantly surprised that Toronto and Tokyo were selected as the two expansion teams, and that I was fortunate enough to be selected to run the Toronto franchise.
It has to be like a dream position for sure for someone that's been involved in swimming for so long. I can imagine almost combining that business world that you've lived in with that sport that you're also so familiar with, right?
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing is, I've been an investment banker for 25 years and like a trader and everything. And until December, I was the treasurer of one of the largest banks in the world. And Constantine approached me, and I said, "Hell yeah!"
of
And I liked my job before, and it was a good job, and devoted my career to it, and got out of there in a hot minute to take this. Yeah, exactly what you said, because it is something that I've devoted my life to, and um, I've, as you guys probably know, I'm not sure if all your listeners do, but I run an open water swim team here in Oakville that I grew from literally myself to over 250 members last year.
that's
The
huge.
Lake Ontario swim team. Um, and the acronym for Lake Ontario Swim Team, of course, is LOST. So it's called LOST Swimming. And I've literally donated my Saturday mornings for the last 15 years just doing that. And then my son and I, Dylan, out of that, we started the Global Swim Series. And that's just a series of open water races around the world where people compete virtually by the points they gain in each race they do. And that again has grown from our first year we had 12 races, and now there's over 200 races
Wow.
and 100,000 participants in 38 countries.
Oh
So,
my.
so and that's actually how we came in contact with Constantine and met up with him when we were doing some research for a race in Rome, and we were over there and went out for dinner with him. And I was talking to him about the Global Swim Series, and little did I know I was in a job interview at the same time. And yeah, so he asked me to do that, and as soon as he did that, I asked my son Dylan to join me, and I quit my job. Dylan's still in private equity, but as you say, um, coming back to your original point, is it's a perfect marriage for me of something that I've loved and have done all my life, which is swimming in one form or another. From Olympic trials in '88 through open water swimming and Lost and GSS and all this, and now to the ISL. But the other part that's a very important thing that people have to realize too is that the ISL isn't just supposed to be like a swim meet except better. It's supposed to be a professional swimming league. So the idea is that um, half of what I do is dealing with the swimmers and signing swimmers and getting them and all that. The other half of it is trying to make this a profitable team, and that involves broadcast rights and sponsorship and ticket sales and all that kind of stuff and merchandise and everything there too.
And I think that having that background in the swimming, like it's so crucial, and even in terms of the reach that you have through the Global Swim Series and everything, is key for a new team, especially to gain that popularity and to be able to sell those tickets in the future, buy the merch, all that stuff, and gain that fan base that every pro team needs, right? Um, so I think that sort of segues into our next question. I think that Felipe had for you.
Yeah,
Um,
so before I kind of explain the question, I want to tell the viewers like the kind of changes that the ISL kind of brings. I wanted to kind of explain what next year kind of has to bring to the ISL, right? Because it's going to be a lot different format. It's going to be a lot of different for GMs to get swimmers and everything along the lines of that. So I want to talk about the solidarity program that the ISL kind of came up with, you know, for next year and because of what happened with coronavirus. So it's going to be one of the first times that a GM is going to be making a team without having a contract-based kind of format, right? And at the same time, it's also to support the swimmers. So I wanted to kind of see what your kind of struggles have been with this new solidarity program, but as well the benefits towards it as well.
Yeah. So the good news, bad news about being a professional sports league is now we're a professional sports league, and like all the professional sports leagues out there, this is a weird, tough, strange year to figure things out. And it is that's I'm just talking about professional sports, but it is in every business and every facet of life in every country around the world.
sure.
But with regards to this, the ISL and same with hockey, basketball, football, everything, they have to figure out how to be nimble and adapt and all that. And the ISL, fortunately, is owned by one guy right now, or largely owned by one guy. And so decision making processes are a lot easier, and you can
Right.
be a lot more nimble than trying to get all the GMs from the NFL in one. Well, you can't get them in one place, but on one screen, or NHL, and then the board of directors and all that, and it's just a very very cumbersome process to do. With the ISL, we got all the GMs and the executive group at the ISL and sat down and figured out what we should do. Now, having said that, the one thing that this whole virus situation has caused every business around the world is you gotta expect the unexpected. So this is the plan as it is right now. We'll see what happens, but it seems like it should be a good program. And the program is the Solidarity Program, which involves a couple of things. One is to the solidarity part of it is all the swimmers in the ISL have agreed to accept the same salary, because prior to that, and prior to that being just in February or so, we were all under salary cap. So you did just like you would with the Toronto Maple Leafs or anything else. You spend your money here, try to save some money there,
Right.
and try to make it work and build a strong team. For this year, because it was a weird year, we decided to just do the solidarity program. Everybody gets paid the same, which is pretty cool. That the big names in this sport said, yeah, you know what, that's the right thing to do. And next year we'll do it differently and everything. But this year, I think it's important that we try to support each other and get everybody through to whatever their goals are for next year, presumably the Olympics, and go with that. Now, so that was half the equation. The other half of the equation is, so how are we going to do this? Because before this, last year there was only 7 matches. They're called matches because you have 4 teams in a match, as opposed to a swim meet or whatever. But there was 7 matches. This year it was going to grow to 27 matches, with each team doing 10 matches. And now, like everybody else, you got to figure out a shortened season and how to roll with it and what to do. So what we've decided to do, and everybody's going to be in various degrees of bad shape, but everybody wants to get into good shape for all the big events next year. So what we've decided to do with this under the Solidarity program is to have a training camp / competition of 5 weeks in one location. So that, there's still all kinds of headaches and everything for that, but that avoids a lot of the travel, because last year, or not last year, but the previous season, we were going to be flying all over the world, from Australia to Rio to Budapest to Toronto to all over. Right. And well, that's not going to happen. So the idea is that we'll have all these matches in one location in a 5-week period, and in between there, it'll just be a training camp. So this will really be a very, very strange and cool experience, because there's never been anything like this, where you get all the best swimmers in the world, and they do an ISL meet or ISL season, much like last year, and then also throw in a training camp where everybody can train together. That's unheard of. And again, just something, the Solidarity program kind of is a good name for it, because it's a pretty cool and unique way of getting everybody back in the game.
I think coming back to your point, Rob, about how it was very cool that some of the top tier athletes still said, yeah, I think everyone should get the money. I think it speaks a lot to the character of these kind of athletes, like swimmers, who have for so many years, they understand that struggle of preparing for the world stage, preparing for the Olympics, and everyone knows, like, you need that funding opportunity, right? So that's awesome to see and awesome to hear.
Especially the Caleb Dressels that were making like so much money because of their MVPs and the money that went along with winning per points per event, which is extremely cool. And so because of this crazy new form,
having said that, there still will be prize money, team prize money, and individual prize money on top of the equal salary for all the swimmers. So, and actually the prize money is double of what it was last year.
Oh wow!
So it
shows growth, right? That's huge.
Good bucks.
Yeah, that's great. So, and then as well in this 4 or 5 weeks, they also said that there's going to be like this reality kind of TV show sense, right? And I kind of wanted to speak to you about how like that kind of goes with building a league, building the sport of swimming, and also building the Toronto Tiger.
Yeah. So I guess the thing to look at when you're looking at building this league and adapting this league to this environment is, what were the underlying goals for this whole thing? Like, why are we even doing this? And it was to build a professional sports league, to support swimmers in the way that other professional sports are supported, and to make these swimmers, deservedly so, the stars that they are in other leagues. You know, these athletes, this isn't, D-level whatever dodgeball that we're promoting here. These are literally the best athletes in the world.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say the best swimmers in the world. I would say these are among the best athletes in the world. They're clearly the best swimmers in the world, but you can hold them up against anybody in any sport. And there's no, yeah, but no. These are the best athletes in the world. And yet nobody knows them. And they're not making much money. So that is really what's the underlying goal of this is to make a commercial success of this for sure, but to also um, make swimmers in the spotlight and everything more than what they are. So coming back to your point, Felipe, that they, these matches will be broadcast on TV and broadband, whatever OTT. That as the matches themselves. But this was kind of the turning lemons into lemonade side of it. Was hey, you know what would be really cool? We're gonna have all these swimmers in one place for 5 weeks, and what it would be pretty neat to give them the exposure that swimmers never get, and that no other sport has ever done. Where you could just do however you want to phrase it, a reality TV show or documentary or whatever of the life going on in this really unique, weird environment, and therefore you go back to your original plan for the ISL, which is to not only create a viable league and to support swimmers, but also to give them better exposure so people know who they are. People can tell you who the third line defenseman is for the Leafs, but nobody knows anything deeper than about the top half a dozen swimmers in the world. Well, that's not right. These
Yeah.
guys are as good athletes as anyone in the world, and they deserve to be in the spotlight more. So that's the idea behind that.
I think it's an awesome concept because you think of how big swimming is in terms of how many people swim in the States, right? And how big those household names of, Key Ledecky, Gil Dressel, Michael Phelps, obviously. But for the most part, the general population is only going to see them once every 4 years,
Yeah,
which is crazy. So this league is a fantastic opportunity, like you said, for people to really finally learn about these athletes, see them in a more intimate way through this proposed reality program. And then my next question, more related to Canadian swimming, it's two part. Um, you guys had made a post on your Instagram saying that you had signed Kylie Maas. So I wanted to talk about how important was that signing for you guys? Was that something that you had set out to do when you realized that Toronto was going to be one of the expansion teams? And then the second part of my question is, what kind of impact does this Canadian team with a Canadian leader like Kylie Maas, um, what kind of impact do you see that having on swimming in at the amateur level and seeing our younger swimmers? Um,
yeah. So like any team, again, I keep coming back to the Leafs or whatever because it's the low hanging fruit for comparisons. But for any team, it's always great to have the local boy on the team or whatever,
for
the
sure.
local. But as a professional league, you don't care. The idea is that if you're the Philadelphia Flyers and you put together a great team and you win the Stanley Cup, nobody really cares how many guys on your team are from Philadelphia. Um,
Right.
Having said that, yeah, of course, we'd love to have as many Canadians on the team as possible, and we do. And without tipping my hand just yet, we've announced 5 of our swimmers. We've got a full roster already. We're the first team to fill our roster for
All
the
right.
year, so we're pretty pleased with that.
It's exciting.
Um, but I can't. We're not. We're on a little bit of a lockdown on releasing it yet, but I'm excited to do that. But we do our largest uh, country on the team is Canada.
Oh, awesome.
So that was very deliberate. The cool thing is that we do have that many good Canadian swimmers.
Right.
Like these weren't pity votes that we'll take him. He's Canadian, but
Yeah.
no, these like Kylie, she's world record holder. Like what
Right.
else you want? And that's the thing. This isn't like they're pretty good for Canadians. No, these are world class, as good
World.
as you get
Yeah.
swimmers. So there's no um, uh, sentiment that way. But having said that, yeah, of course we'd love to have as many Canadians as we can get on the team. And for the trickle down, to answer your second part of the question, the trickle down effect is exactly the same thing as what I said with having Canadians on the team. Honestly, I think the ISL will have a huge trickle down effect in every country in just across the world. That and I've already had a couple of parents that have said, "Cool, my son already is picking out who his heroes are going to be on the team
Awesome.
and stuff like that." And I'm going, "That's exactly what you want to hear.
That's the
You
best.
want to grow the sport and give it the recognition it needs and requires." And again, same thing as I said earlier, that if your hero on the Toronto Titans happens to be Kylie Mass, hey, that's okay too. But
Absolutely.
actually, I pulled it up on another screen here, which just froze. Here it is. So I on the team so far, and without giving too much away, we have the biggest number is Canadians. The second biggest is Russians. Then we also have Americans, British, Czech, Icelandic, Irish, Luxembourg,
Oh wow.
Swedish, and Ukrainian.
Big mixed
Oh,
So
wow.
bag.
I'm as proud of that as anything. That I think we have one of the most, and this is kind of representative of Canada too.
Yeah.
That we have one of the most international teams out there, and hey, I'm all for that too.
It's awesome, and I agree completely. I think we all sort of share a similar sentiment that when you think of other sports, you've spoken about the NHL a lot, but for young kids growing up, the goal is to play in the NHL. They're not necessarily thinking about the Olympics. That might happen, but the goal is the NHL. Whereas for a sport like swimming, the goal has always been Olympics, world stage. But now you have an opportunity for young kids that are coming through the system and growing up as swimmers to say, like, hey, I can really make a go at this and I want the ISL. That's sort
Yeah.
of where a lot of people in my immediate community are hoping that this league can grow to, is for kids that are young swimmers to be able to have that mindset and say, like, this is where I want to be as well as the Olympics.
Well, and that's part of the deliberate process too. Is kids say that once every 4 years, just like everybody else, and then it goes, yeah, I'll go back to wanting to be a Raptor fan, and that's fine. But that's because you don't see the ISL on TV every week or anything. You see it on TV every 4 years.
Right.
Well, if you saw it on TV every week or every second week, then you go, oh, actually, that is what I genuinely want to be, not just because it's the talk of the week every 4 years.
Right.
Yeah, so now I kind of want to talk to you about kind of what the Toronto Titans have for next year, like their vision for next year, and how the impact of the results from last year impacted maybe building your team and what we can look forward to next season.
That's a good question because that's what I've been trying to figure out. That the short answer is okay, and the easy answer is we want to put together the best team and the most competitive team we can. Okay, so that out of the way, there were stronger teams and weaker teams last year, and as an expansion team, it's hard to walk in and be the strongest team. And realistically, like the best case scenario is the Las Vegas Golden Knights that you make it the Stanley Cup final in their first year. Well, yeah, okay, but that doesn't happen very often. So if we can put together a good, solid, competitive team, which again, I think we have one, and it'll come out. But I think we've got a very good team. So we'll be in there. And as far as like you had mentioned earlier too, just about type of team and strategy and things like that. Well, all of the teams are going to be more sprint-based, sprint-focused, just by the nature of the ISL. That it's set up with more of a program similar to World Championships, where the 50s of each stroke are included, where they have the skins events, which essentially is just they have an eliminator on the last event. For your fans that don't know, where it goes, and it's just a 50, but you do 50 free on 3 minutes, and first 8 go, and then at 3 minutes, the fastest 4 there go, and then 3 minutes later, the top 2 go, and so that's very much sprint based. Now the cool thing is there's going to be, and I almost said it, but I won't. there's going to be a change to that rule, which is going to make it so much more exciting even than that. And that already was the most exciting part of it. And the other part too is there's the relays, which ties into all this too. So it's going to be even more exciting than it was last year, which is I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, that's gonna be good.
That's all you want to hear. Like as a fan of the sport, and obviously we're both from Toronto, so we were ecstatic to hear about this. And yeah, we're both extremely excited to see where this Toronto team goes, because I know a lot of my immediate friends last year were fans of the Energy Standard team for the reason being that they had the most Canadians on that team in the league. And now here we are with a Canadian team that we've just learned has a majority of Canadians. I think there's going to be a big boost in popularity for this league moving forward.
Well, the other thing that I should mention too, that Felipe brought up about Canadian kids looking up to this and everything, and wanting to aspire to that is, as much as I've used the Toronto Maple Leaf analogy, I'll use the Toronto Raptors analogy instead, and the Toronto Blue Jays analogy, that we really want to be the Canadian team. And we are the only Canadian team, and will only be the Canadian team. So as much as it is the Toronto Titans, we're excited to represent Canada and everything like that. And when we were in Vegas last year, there was a group of kids, and there was probably 20 of them that came down from Calgary to Vegas with their parents and stuff. And they were all swimmers for, I forget which team, might have been Calgary Cascade. But they were already all psyched about it. They didn't even know that there was going to be a Toronto team. And I bumped into them in the hallway. They were out there, and it was pretty cute. They were out there waiting for to get autographs from the swimmers and everything. And they were asking me, is Caleb Dressel coming out and all this? So it was pretty cool. And but to my point, when I said, actually, I'm here because there's tomorrow night we're going to announce the expansion teams, and one of them is going to be in Toronto, and they were so excited. And that's exactly what you want to see, that it is the Toronto Titans, but more along the lines of the Raptors and the Blue Jays, where we're here to inspire all the Canadian kids.
Oh, absolutely. And even next year is going to be a little different in terms of the format, but in the future, hopefully we'll get those home meets in Toronto, because that was the first comment that people were making when the team was expanding, when the league expanded. Was the first sentiment was, we got to go down, and we all went to school out of town and everything. So this is people saying, we all got to come to Toronto. We're gonna watch the home meet, and it's gonna be great. Like that was the first sentiment. So.
Well, that's exactly as a fan, that's what I like to hear. But as a GM who's trying to make this a profitable venture too, that's what you want.
Yeah,
you want
that's it.
People that come and see this, and you guys obviously have seen it, and I don't know if all your viewers have seen it, but the meets themselves are pretty spectacular. Like they're not like anything else that's ever been out there. And when I went to Constantine asked me to consider this job, the next weekend was the match in Washington, D.C., and we flew down for that. And I just walked in and my jaw dropped and went, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like there's no swimmer, let alone fan, that walks in there and goes, yeah, it was okay.
Like everything.
It is so cool and so much fun that, I think about, I was living in San Francisco when the San Jose Sharks were an expansion team. And they were kind of the new kids on the block there for a stretch. And they brought in marketing, which was kind of a weird thing, because the NHL, you're either a Leaf fan or a Habs fan or a Bruin fan, and that's that. There was no such thing as really marketing. And the San Jose Sharks came in and they had all these teal and crazy colors and all this, and they put in they came out through the shark's mouth onto the ice and all these cool things, and you thought, wow, that is so cool! Look at somebody's using their brains out there.
Yeah.
Then you take that 100 times over, and that's what the ISL is. It's so exciting. It's hard to resist. Even and that's part of the thing too. Is and obviously the idea is to you guys are the low hanging fruits, and so am I. That we're already swimmers, and we already think it's cool. And if you lived in San Jose before the early '90s, there was no hockey fans there or anything, and now there is.
Right.
And you converted these guys into hockey fans, and guess what? You take the low hanging fruit, all the swimmers that already are excited about it, but with an event that's done as well as this is, the idea is that you make people genuine swim fans, whether they can swim or not, and hopefully they will.
Oh yeah, well, very well said. Yeah, the bar has been set so high, and I know you guys are only going to be shooting higher. So Rob,
Yeah.
thank you so much for your time here. We really greatly appreciate it, and we're very excited to get this out for everyone to see. So hope you and your family are staying safe during this time, and I just want to sincerely thank you for agreeing to take the time and speak with us today.
Absolutely, my pleasure, guys.
All right, thanks everyone. We will see you next time on Take a Look.